All right, so today I am happy to present the Whole Foods Whole Health Talk. This is going to be really cool. I think it's going to be a really cool talk. I think this is the talk that probably I had to prepare the least for because I have been really focusing on a lot about like whole foods and whole health for probably about 7 years now. So it's really all evolved for me. But what I'm hoping that you get out of this talk is why, eating more whole foods is awesome for your health and different things that you can do to just start to kind of integrate it into your health a bit more. So that's good. So first of all, congratulations for being here and actually taking the interest into wanting to learn more about whole foods. I think it's a big step for your health or your family's health just by, listening more about whole foods and how you can integrate them into your life. So good for you. Congratulations. You're doing an awesome job just by listening, which is good. All right. So I am just like you. I would say that I've kind of been on a big journey. So a lot of people feel like they can peg me down as to what I eat, and I don't think that they really do. A lot of people kind of get it all wrong. Be surprised at so many foods that I do eat. But I'll tell you a little bit about how my diet has evolved, and I think that that's what I truly heard for a lot of people. I don't think that a lot of people are still eating the foods that they ate when they was younger. Though I know some people are kind of very strict in that kind of eating way, but I know for a lot of people that how they've eaten, they've tried different diets, they've done this and that sort of eating plan and things like that. So things have evolved for them. So just like you guys, my diet has evolved. I started off, I want to say, so I'm an 80s baby. Shout out to all the 80s babies. So I feel like when we was growing up, or probably 80s and younger, we didn't have a lot of processed foods. Oh, I know consciously my mom did it. My mom, I was lucky enough to grow up with a mom who loved to bake and she loved to cook. Like Sunday, that was her de-stress time. So she would spend hours and hours baking and cooking. So, generally I was eating foods that were, freshly prepared, baked goods that were freshly prepared. So I didn't get a lot of packaged stuff. So I kind of was lucky in that sense. However, I will say that when it came to going to college, I was right into that whole time of like low fat. Yeah, because that was the low fat, like, I want to say it's a fad, right? It was like everything was like eat low fat. It's like the healthiest way to eat. You're not going to have a heart attack and all that sort of stuff. Little do we know now that that was like horrible advice. Probably almost like, I'm pretty sure that eating that low fat style was horrible for my health because that's when all my health problems started to actually creep up. So what low fat was like for me would mean that I still ate like lots of carbs and things like that. So obviously I did the low fat dressings and, I was like, oh, I'm not eating this stuff because it has fat in it and blah, blah, blah. But lo and behold, I was eating like lots of carbs to compensate for that fat. And that was like not so good. So by the time, I think I was doing that for a few years. And at the end of my residency, I was in so much pain and discomfort, mostly at night, and I was still pretty a healthy girl, but I just had lots of pain, lots of aches and pains, and lots of pains in my legs at night, made it really tough for me to sleep. So lo and behold, that was like restless leg issues. And then I had infertility issues and just like general fatigue. They could not get enough sleep. And I was already a good sleeper, but my mom was like, Ayesha, what's wrong with you? At that time I wanted to have kids, but she was probably like, so when do you think you're going to get sleep? Now when you have kids. So I know right now, my diet, because it's changed, I have a lot more energy. So once I was trying to fix my whole infertility thing, and I started to learn about how low-fat diets were actually horrible for you, and actually all that high-carb diets were actually horrible for you, I pretty much switched, and I would switch to more what's called a keto diet. So a keto diet is where you are really limiting the amount of carbs that you're putting in your body, and you're actually making your body actually make its own sugars, and as a result of that, it also makes ketones, which is also another type of energy source that you really get from fats, because you got way more fats in your diet. So I did that, and that was pretty much, I want to say, just like pretty much meat and veg, lots of meat and veg. When I had my first daughter, I pretty much stayed in like a ketone diet, and I know I'm more on a ketone diet because I remember going to the OB-GYN who would check my urine, and she was like, "Oh, you have ketones in your urine." I was like, "Yeah," because I was making a real conscious effort to lower my carbs and eat lots of fat. And then, as like, I started to have more kids, because I've got 3 now, like, watch out. But I've got 3 kids now. And so between like the kids and breastfeeding and things like that, I'll tell you that I've been able to increase my carbs. So I don't do as much ketones. But one thing that I've done, and I've been really focused on for at least the last 3 or 4 years, is making sure that I have lots of plants and vegetables in my diet. And really, even if I'm eating something that I haven't made or is, coming from the grocery store pre-packaged, I try to make sure that, it is as whole food as possible. That means I can understand and read all the ingredients in that. So I would say right now where I am is really trying to focus on getting as much, I would say, a plant-rich or plant-based diet. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the lingo as we go on. But my biggest goal is really trying to really nail in the veggies. I focus a lot on veggies now, but I still eat meat. And that's where people are surprised, because I'm pretty thin. So they think that, hey, you must be like completely vegan or vegetarian, but that's not true. I do eat meat, but I eat lots of plants as well. So that's a little bit about me. All right. So I have a disclaimer. I love French fries. I like to eat them. I like to eat them a lot. So I want to say that people should know that. I really wanted to put this in her, and Dr. Famous was like, "Oh, don't put that in there. People are gonna think French fries are bad or you're against them." But I think people always have a vice when it comes to food, right? And or maybe they don't, but I know I do. I love French fries. I think I want to blame that on my mom, truthfully, because she tells me that when she was pregnant with me, she used to eat French fries nearly every day. And so I think I've just been primed, so French fries is my all-time favorite food. So I was excited when I found a way that I could make my French fries healthier. So when I started to learn about more like, plant-based, plant-rich, more clean eating, one of the things that I discovered was green bananas and how they make such an amazing and yummy French fry. And it's so easy. I could tell you how to make it like right now. So this is the recipe. When you get green bananas, so I'm lucky I have banana trees, outside of my door. And so when we have green bananas, what you do is you cut them down, you peel it off. So green bananas are a little bit harder to peel, so you need a knife for that. And then you can cut them up to potato size or French fry size, however you want to do that. You have a saucepan or a frying pan. You add that with like a coconut oil that will, cook the French fries. You heat up your coconut oil, you add in your green bananas, you fry them to like they're a golden brown, crispy. You take them out, you add some sea salt, and they are delicious. Okay. Actually, let me also add this disclaimer. this webinar is probably going to make you hungry. Okay, so hopefully you've eaten, but after this, you're going to want to eat something yummy. Just warning you, because we're going to talk about yummy food. All right. So I know I was getting hungry just, even preparing this, this webinar for you. So why plant-based, right? Why is it an option? And I think, or plant-based or going plant-rich, which means you're focusing more on getting veggies and fruits in your life. Mostly, it's really for your health. So plant-based eating is so good, not only for like your brain health, because Ocean Rock Wellness has been on this brain health kick. We've just launched My Beautiful Brain e-course. So everything that we know right now, like as far as what really helps overall health, and when we look at a lot of diets as far as longevity, diets that help people's heart health, those sorts of things, they all have one thing in common, and there are a lot of plants and lots of vegetables in there. So when it comes to the research and reversing chronic disease, even reversing high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, improving your heart health, that is eating more plant-based foods. Okay, so another thing that I want to mention is that this is like, when it comes to like anti-aging and things like that, as far as your skin looking fresh, looking youthful, you really want to think like putting foods in that have lots of antioxidants in. And for your hormones, women, even men, but definitely women, like hormone health for us is really, really crucial when we're getting and it's benefited when we get a lot of good vegetables, especially like the green vegetables and the cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower. So lots of reasons why, my plant-based, kind of way of eating came out when I realized that I had a lot of inflammation in my body. Obviously, I had a lot of pain. I had a lot of issues. But it was mostly the pain that was like, okay, Ayesha, you got to change what you're eating. So you have to be honest with yourself. I don't think anybody can make you eat it, but know that, whatever issues that you have, if you have anything going on health-wise, and you are not eating a lot of vegetables, if you start eating lots of vegetables and fruits, it is going to get better. And then think about your kids. Think about family, and if you have kids or you have grandkids, if you're eating really, really good foods and introducing them to this anti-inflammatory way of eating, then you're going to help them to improve their risk. So, not likely to get obesity, not likely to be overweight or have issues with diabetes and high blood pressure, which, is really rampant for us in our society right now. So it is time to learn the lingo. So let me just, all right, so whole food. Okay, what does whole food mean? Really, whole food means natural foods that are essentially not heavily processed, so as close to their natural state as possible. And they would say if you are getting these in like a more packaged state, they would have like minimal refined ingredients or completely unrefined. For example, so fruits, veggies, generally meats would be considered whole foods. Anything that your grandma would recognize, okay, or your great grandma, yeah, or your great great grandmother, depending how old you are, but anything that they would recognize as a food would be considered a whole food. For instance, right, so you can have a chicken leg versus chicken nuggets. So chicken leg would be considered more of a whole food than chicken nuggets, right? That makes sense. And then plant-based means that you are eating a lot more veggies and fruits. Okay, so that's just meaning that you have more of a plant-rich diet. And so I think of more a plant-based diet is that when it comes to veggies and fruits, they are the stars of the show when it comes to your meals. For instance, if you're having a breakfast, if you're having lunch and your dinner, you're incorporating veggies and fruits somewhere along the line, mostly in every single meal or snack that you're doing. And you are definitely eliminating those highly refined foods that you find in packages. So you are cutting out the baked flours and the refined sugars, okay? And because you're doing that, then you're obviously going to be avoiding the additives, preservatives, food colorants and dyes and all this nasty stuff that tends to show up. Now, I mentioned vegan. So vegan, okay, so vegan eating means that you're completely avoiding all animal products. It's more of a lifestyle because, you know, veganism will even go beyond, you know, they wouldn't wear like leather shoes or leather belt, anything or clothing, and use any materials in their lifestyle that comes from animal products. So the things that they would exclude other than, so they wouldn't have eggs, they wouldn't have dairy, they wouldn't have meat, and then it may even be that they wouldn't have like milk, cheese, honey. So none of that, because obviously honey comes from bees, they wouldn't have that. It's so no animal products, everything is plant derived. And vegetarians have will eat some animal products, mostly if it is, generally most vegetarians will include things that maybe are produced by animals, so they will be okay with honey. Sometimes some vegetarians are okay with eggs and milk products. Usually sometimes they don't like to have things that are where the animal has been killed in a sense. But there's a few different types of vegetarians, truthfully. So sometimes you have vegetarians that will eat fish, and that's called a pescatarian. So they won't eat meats or they won't eat red meats, but they will eat fish, and that's a pescatarian. I'll tell you about one new lingo that's kind of popping up right now. And this was, I believe, this phrase was coined by Dr. Mark Hyman, as far as I know, because he's the first one I heard say it. But there's something called pagan. So pagans are, and I think I'm probably, if I put myself in a category, I would fit the pagan category right now. So pagans eat very much plant-based. You know, they have a lot of plants in their diet. However, they will still eat some meat. So the pagan diet is derived a little bit from paleo, so eating foods that our ancient ancestors ate, and then and a mix between vegan. So yeah, so that's kind of how pagan kind of works, but that's how it is. So let's see, I think that's probably it for the lingo, I think, as it is today. Now let's talk about, when we think about whole foods and plant-based or plant-rich diet, I can understand why a lot of people would kind of get a little bit overwhelmed. I want to say overwhelmed because even with me, I think, because I, you know, like my diet has evolved, but every time that I found out, like I had read the research and I was in the conference and I was like, oh, this is such the diet for me, then I kind of started to kind of jump in ready immediately. But I know that some people, you know, it's a little bit like nerve-wracking for them. And one, I think they think it's going to be hard. I think that they think it's going to be like, you know, very time consuming, so it take a long time. I think they think it's going to be boring, and I think they think it's going to not taste well. And like all of those things are myths. You know, you're pretty much the creator of your plant-based diet. So if you can really create things and make it what you want. I'm super, super busy. So I know if I can kind of manage to eat plant-based on my busy schedule, 3 kids, doctor, I mean, hello. So, you know, I know that you guys can as well. So it doesn't have to be very time consuming. I'll tell you this. The biggest thing is just making sure you prep and you'll have time for that. But also you can be very creative, and I like to, so plant-based eating to me, I actually feel like my food tastes really good because I focus on like herbs and spices and, you know, sea salt, which I don't shy away from. I like that in my diet, so my food tastes awesome. I know, because you know, I started off with I started out being a picky eater, so you know, I'm very like sensitive to like, you know, palate and flavor and richness, and I just love like, you know, I think do plant-based eating just brings you a challenge, right? And even if you got kids at home and you want them to, you know, eat more vegetables, then you gotta season and cook them like wow. Like my family comes to me to cook vegetables now because they know I'm gonna cook them right and they're gonna taste good. I mean, and you know, now I'm like the vegetable guru. And I'm like, you guys, I cook other stuff too. But they're like, no, we like your vegetables. And I get it. They taste good. But yeah, so, you know, just think like if you're thinking hard, time consuming, it's going to taste crappy, just take those thoughts out your mind because it really doesn't have to be like that. Okay. All right. So it's time to talk a little bit about kids. All right. Let's get your kids involved, right? And the more you start to get them involved, you know, as early, you know, I have my 3-year-old starting to cook with me and things like that. So, you know, it really helps them, especially, you know, if you want them to kind of get a taste for these foods, the more that they're involved in, you know, preparing foods, the more that they're going to want to eat those foods at the table. So, you know, I feel like, you know, and sometimes, you know, I have to kind of be in the right space, but sometimes I just want to cook things and do things real fast. And, you know, it's a little tough to have a 3-year-old trying to be like, I want to do it. And, you know, it's going to be a mess, but don't worry, have them in a few meals. Like, you know, when you got some time, you know, like on Sunday is a really good time. I'll have the kids join me and they will make something, or I have them that, you know, make their snack or something like that. So, you know, and just like, you know, they even help me cutting up stuff. I just, you know, give them the plastic knife and they go to town, you know. So it's pretty good, but they're more likely to eat foods that they help to prepare. So don't be scared to get the kids involved. All right. Picky eater. I used to be one, so I know what it's like. And thank God, you know, God didn't give me picky eaters. I think, but I kind of am like, man, mom, what, you know, I feel like, you know, I used to be very picky. My husband's not a picky eater. His kind of family was like, you eat what you're going to eat or you starve. So he doesn't kind of get how many picky eating. My kids are not really as picky as me, thank God, but they do have some picky tendencies. And because I'm a pediatrician, you know, I work with a lot of parents who got kids of picky eaters. So I can get picky eating, and I can get that kids, you know, and it's funny because the picky eaters tend to really want to go for the refined stuff. They want the white flours, they want the sugars, like, you know, like I have one kid and the parents like, all I can get them to eat is goldfish, chicken nuggets, and pizza. Like, you know, right? Like, so lots of like beigey foods in that they couldn't get them to expand that. I would say that when my experience, picky eaters are more at risk for like health stuff. So it's not unusual when I'm getting a history and parents are like, oh, this is going on with them. And I am exploring what's going on in their diet, like the number of foods that they're eating is so very narrow, right? But the reason obviously they would get into health problems is the same reason why we would get into health problems if we kept on eating that. They're not getting enough nourishing foods, so they're not getting enough nutrients, they're not getting enough antioxidants, and obviously those foods tend to be very inflammatory provoking. So yeah, it's about big stress on their body. So one of the ways that I want to say to kind of get, to kind of make sure that you want to prevent picky eating is really it starts in pregnancy. So just like how I mentioned, I feel like my mom primed me for French fries, one thing that you want to do is if you are pregnant, thinking about pregnant, going to have more kids, you want to, while you're pregnant, eat lots of vegetables and eat lots of fruits, because they say that kids actually start to develop some of their taste preferences while they are in the belly. So make sure that you are eating lots of vegetables, right? And fruits, and then your kids will be inclined to that. And then when they are, you know, getting ready, so you've had the kids and their early infancy and you're thinking about introducing foods, I like to introduce veggies first and fruits. So I don't go for grains first, which I know is a big first food. But I also, you know, when I'm dealing a lot with my breastfeeding moms, you know, we're feeding kids closer to 6 months where they're, you know, a little bit ready. But even if I had a younger kid, I would go for more of the veggies first. It's, you know, I think there is a kind of teaching out there that grains first, and grains are, you know, easy and better digested for the stomach, and I just don't see that, truthfully. So some of my first foods for kids will be like avocado, spinach, peas, those sorts of things. So really encourage the veggies first, then get into the fruits. What you want to do with the fruits, though, well, you want to give veggies by themselves, right? So there's a lot of mixed pouches and mixed things, and sometimes you can mix them if you're doing your own thing. To encourage the kid to eat vegetables, you would start to, like, say, like mix the peas with banana, because you know that, you know, kids obviously like the sweet, so you tend to kind of get into that habit. I say try not to do that. You don't want to, you know, your kid to think that everything green tastes like banana, because that's not cool. So as much as you can, try to, you know, keep the flavors separate so they can really get a taste for that. If you have to mix it later, then fine. But, you know, when you're really trying to get you're training their taste buds, essentially. So, you know, you want to kind of make sure that, you know, they understand the different tastes for things. Another thing that I think you can do is make things very fun. So when you get into those more older kids and things like that, they love foods that's presented to them like different. So kids, for instance, like kebabs, right? So you could do a fruit kebab if you have a kid that's not really picky, not even like fruit, but you could do like a fruit kebab. And guess what? Something about like taking a food off a stick is more intriguing to them, and so it's more playful for them. So they'll probably eat foods like that. And then you do have, like, you know, there's some you know, options of actually, if you really have a tough like eater and things like that, and say, okay, well, they like pasta, you could do like a pasta that has maybe, like, if it's a pasta sauce, you can add some moringa or some spinach or things like that, get some greens in there. Or if they like the tomato sauce, you can kind of add more vegetables into their, you know, sauces and things like that, especially if they're trying to do pizza and things like that. So you can find other ways to actually increase their veggie intake. You know, that's okay to do that sometimes, but you want to also still really be still introducing them broccoli. So broccoli is not always hidden into something, you know, you really just want to try. And one thing I would say with picky eaters is that you have to give them that exposure for 15 times before they really like that. And that's even for our taste buds. So sometimes you might taste something that you're not super duper crazy about, you know, but you know it's good for you. So if you keep on trying it, you would definitely train your palate to like that more and more. You know, like, so like you know, I'm kind of like that with like parsnips and Christophines. Like, I'm not really crazy about them, but I know they're really super good, you know. And so I like to just kind of just keep trying them. I might try them in soup and things like that. So just keep on eating them. So it, like I said, it starts off with you. The biggest factor as far as, you know, kind of making this change is pretty much what you're going to be eating. And then truthfully, if you're the head of your household, or you're the matriarch of your household, then that's going to trickle down to the rest of the family, and it actually might expand over to the, you know, your extended family, especially if, you know, you're helping to do parties and things like that and family get-togethers. It really starts with you. But you want to do this because it's all about just wanting to prevent bad things from happening in your health, keeping you as healthy as possible. So everything from, you know, a really good healthy way to heart disease, Alzheimer's, dementia, all of that stuff, diabetes. This is why you're essentially doing it. A plant-based diet in your brain. So I mentioned this earlier, and it's, you know, it's not bad to have a whole slide where we just talk about how great plant-based is for your brain. I mentioned to some of you guys already know that with my Nana, who I love dearly, she developed Alzheimer's dementia when she was 84. She's still living right now, but she is not a vegetable person, and like never really was. Like vegetables to her was pretty much like iceberg lettuce and like tomatoes, you know. And it's funny because when I would go up her house, like her classic thing to give us would be like chicken nuggets, french fries, and like iceberg lettuce and tomato. So, you know, I mean, it's not, you know, surprising that she, you know, has issues with her brain and her brain health now. And that's something, and even now, you know, I'm like, she's not really crazy about vegetables. It's actually even a little bit trickier now because she has dentures. So, you know, it's even a little bit harder for her to eat foods, even though I'll be like, no, like eat your vegetables, like that sort of thing. It's just like, Ayesha. But, you know, for the reason why we want more vegetables and we want to, you know, plant-based diets are so much better for the brain is because you get higher levels of antioxidants. So the brain cells are really sensitive to that, right? So, you know, as if your brain and your body's not getting enough nutrients, well, guess what? Your brain cells die, right? And they don't regenerate like we want. So, and having lots of veggies, lots of fruit helps to build up those antioxidant levels and protects your brain cells. So another thing that plant-based diet will be it will help with depression and moods, and even so some mental health conditions. So some of you guys know I work at in a mental health clinic where I help people with physical health, and their diets tend to be very restricted and very horrible. And when, you know, you get the holistic psychiatrists who are doing more of a nutrition-based plan to help with mental health, a lot of it is focused around getting a lot of more greens and a lot of more vegetables, because people who are in that category, who have the risk factors, the genes, maybe even their environment makes them more susceptible to mental health, they do so much better when they're getting lots of green veggies, because they're getting lots of the vitamins and things like that they need, and their body is a lot sensitive to like detoxing and toxins and things like that. So think about, if you love your brain and you wanted to keep it beautiful, then think, you know, plant-based eating. So the results are pretty stunning when it comes to plant-based, because now we know there's a lot of research, and it's very hard, and especially with what I do, and when I help people to reverse their medical conditions and get super duper healthy, you know, it's just absolutely amazing. So to see people who have reversed lupus by going through plant-based diet, for people who have reversed cancer, such as prostate cancer, even breast cancer, all sorts of things, all amazing things can happen with plant-based diet. And so, you know, I'm a really, really, really huge believer, and because I've seen it. So if you haven't seen it and you're one of those people that believe that, you know, diet really doesn't matter, like if you get a diagnosis, it really doesn't matter what you eat, you know, that's it, and that's your life, then I'm like, you know, stop it. I'm here to tell you, I've seen it with my own eyes. It's amazing. And even for the kids, you know, when it comes to like ADHD and autism spectrum and things like that, you gotta get lots of vegetables, lots of fruits, and it's just amazing. It just blows my mind every time. Alrighty. So foods galore. So I want to get talking a little bit more practical things that you can do to, I think hopefully I've convinced you that, plant-based eating and getting more foods that are of the rainbow in your diet is such a great thing. This is where I'm going to give you a little bit more tips on how to do that. So transitioning to getting more whole foods and plants in your diet, it doesn't really have to be hard, okay? I think that the perfect way to start out tackling anything is recognizing everything that you can eat, okay, and not really focusing on this so much of the stuff that you shouldn't eat. I think and so I deal with a lot of people with like elimination diets, and the first thing I tell somebody is, if I tell them that they can't have a certain food, like, oh, your food results say you got eggs or dairy or something like that, and they're like, oh, that's in everything. But guess what? It really isn't. So don't use that terminology. It's in some things, but there is so much food. There's such an array of food. There's so much things to explore in the grocery store, that you just gotta try new things. All right. So here's a quick overview of the major food groups. So when we talk about plant-based diet, these are the major food groups that we really focus on in plant-based diet. So fruits, of course, and pretty much any type of fruit, that goes. So it could be oranges, apples, bananas, grapes, strawberries. One thing that we do like to focus on when it comes to certain foods is, trying to make fruits is just trying to make sure that they're clean as possible and they're organic. So think, particularly with the fruits that have a thin skin, you really want to try to, buy those organically as possible if you can. Now, vegetables will be the next major group. All right. So think of like, everything that's, your green vegetables, your kales, your things like that, peppers, avocados, lettuce, spinach, peas, collard greens, all this stuff, nice green stuff. And then tubers will be your root vegetables, such as sweet potatoes, parsnips, carrots, beets. Those will be the tubers. So that's part of plant-based eating. And then legumes, which is, your bean family. So lentils, chickpeas, those sorts of things. Some people's digestive system can handle them. Some people can. Sometimes they might find that they need that digestive enzymes to help their body with the beans. And you know what, interesting enough, I feel like I used to be sensitive to beans, but as I think my diet has evolved and I've got a bit cleaner, my body can actually digest them a little bit more. I'll be honest, I don't use that terribly as a lot of I don't get a lot of legumes in, but I would say that is one of the things that you would want to focus on if you can tolerate it, is getting some legumes in. Alrighty. So let's talk about practical ideas. So the biggest thing, like I mentioned, when you're transitioning your diet, is really prep. But one of the first things that you want to kind of get your kitchen and everything prepped for is you want to remove the stuff that you really shouldn't be eating out of. I don't even bring it in the house really, or sometimes you get given stuff and I might kind of hide it in the cupboard for a little bit, but eventually I just like to clean out the cupboard from that stuff. So you will most likely eat what's there. So you just make sure that, as you're transitioning, you clean your stuff, you clean your house out of all the bad stuff, all the bad packaged stuff. And then when you are on your next shopping day, you make sure that your shopping list has got lots of, fresh or frozen veggies. I have to say, I do a lot of frozen veggies, especially in Bermuda, because they say when it comes to the frozen, they just have just as much and even sometimes more of the nutrition than some of the fresh stuff. But I have to say, some of the fresh stuff just tastes better. Like, everybody I think will agree that, fresh broccoli is so much better than frozen. So, but yeah, anyway, so make sure that when you are grocery shopping, you have a lot of that. So stock up a lot on your fruits, stock up on a lot of your vegetables when you're You don't want to buy and pick up things that got a lot of sugar in them, or sugar substitutes, or processes, or juices. And the way to do that is, if you are picking up any of that sort of stuff, you want to make sure that an 8-year-old can read it and understand those ingredients. And guess what? If 8-year-olds can't read it and understand it, you should not be picking it up. So it makes it easy. Hopefully you have an 8-year-old and then they could tell you. But if you don't, use your imagination. So shopping. So shopping is shopping is easy. So when you're actually at the grocery store, right, you want to make sure that what is really easy is if you mostly stick around the perimeter, okay, because that's where all your fresh foods are, and even, you know, the really good, like you'll find even your frozen vegetables tend to be usually around the perimeter. So the big thing to do is when you create a list, always, that helps. But then when you're shopping and you're buying, hopefully your list is taking you around the perimeter of the grocery store, and you're not in the aisles. That's what you really, really want to avoid. That's where all the healthier food is. Now, prep time. So before you go shopping though, and you obviously, when you do go shopping, make sure you give yourself enough time, because I think when you are first transitioning, you will sometimes need more time to like read labels and things like that to make sure that you're getting things nice and clean and wholesome. So don't go trying to shop and change them when you only got 10 minutes to go grocery shopping, because you know what, you're going to fall into bad habits. You're just going to try to pick up what's fast and familiar, and we want to avoid that. So give yourself time. Make sure that you are writing a list. When you get everything home, you can actually start prepping it. So you can cut up, you know, so I don't do this because I just, I don't feel like I need to, but one of the tips that I found was like really genius that one of my clients told me they do is they will actually cut up stuff that they want to use for their salads ahead of time. So when they come home, they might cut up a lot of peppers, or they might cut up, like, you know, their tomatoes, or maybe they're putting, I don't know what, seeds or whatever. They will have everything kind of already cut up, and as they're making their salads, it makes everything's just really easy because they're cut up and they're prepped. So, you know, that's just, you know, another way to win. So that might work for you. Recipe time. So this is where, you know, we help you, because Ocean Rock Wellness, we love you. So we love sharing recipes. We like, you know, helping you to be super awesome and plant rich. So we have a new Facebook group called Nutrition Everything. So everything you need to know about nutrition, is on our Facebook page. So just go to our Facebook page and join. Anybody can join. So, and what we do, and you can post stuff, and, you know, and we love that because we like the inspiration, the energy, and the amazing tips that you bring. And I think that's what makes it easy too. So when you kind of get that, so sometimes, like, you know, if I feel slumped and I'm getting stuck in my plant-based diet, I love to see what other people's doing, because that kind of inspires you. I might go online. One of the resources online that I like a lot is Food Matters TV, because then they'll give me ideas about like plant-based things to do and stuff like that. And I just like to challenge, create, have fun. But it's kind of nice when somebody else has kind of done something and created something, so you kind of just get to like share or play ideas off. So join that today. So Nutrition Everything, just go on Facebook. You will find it on Ocean Rock Wellness's Facebook page. Okie dokie. And then watch out for recipes. All right. So this, so a word on supplements, because you know, it's really good to be authentic and things like that. And I use supplements a lot, and I've used supplements probably in my life for about a good 6-7 years, but more so in the last 4 years, where I've really done a lot of functional medicine stuff on myself. So even with a plant-rich diet, right? So plant-rich diet, plant-based diets are absolutely amazing. Super weight, like I've said, everything I've said about antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals, it's really, really true. But guess what? You know, in our society, we still have some areas where the food is not as nutritional dense as what it is. And even if, you know, you're eating like lots of vegetables and lots of fruit, your body can still kind of run into some deficiencies. And I have to say, I do see that a lot. It's one of the things that we test at Ocean Rock Wellness. We test vitamin and mineral levels. And even truthfully, like even me, I found when I was testing, I was eating lots of plant-based. I still had vitamin D deficiency. I was still on a prenatal vitamin. So, you know, you can still run into things. So I still tend to use supplements. I find that generally most people do. And that, you know, the core supplements that I find that even from the very little and to the very old could benefit from is a really good multivitamin, a good probiotic, vitamin D, vitamin D3, and omega-3s. Omega-3s are really good for brain health and really will help to boost. And, you know, if you you know me and you kind of work with me, you kind of know that I tend to just kind of, you know, if you're bringing a kid in with me or you're coming in yourself, I'm kind of going over that list just to see, you know, are you still kind of keeping up with those things? But those things can really help to supplement what you're doing already with the plant-based diet. Alrighty. So you want to, you know, stay motivated, you know, and kind of, you're going to eat, you're going to eat what people around you eat, truthfully. So, you know, if you're really trying to up your game with eating healthier, you know, surround yourself with people who are also up in their game and eating healthier. So you're more likely to eat really good when you're surrounded around eating really good. So, you know, that can help you to stay motivated. It's just checking, you know, what other people are eating. And we made it really easy for you because we have our Facebook group, which is called Nutrition Everything. And what's also super exciting is we're just in the midst of the plant-based challenge. So, you know, we're actually excited. This is our biggest challenge yet as far as people who are registered. So you're in really, really good company. So join us. Like I said, it's all about, you know, what you can do to increase your vegetables and fruits. That's all the challenges is, you know. You don't have to really worry about cutting out stuff. All you got to do is worry about eating more veggies and fruits. So Facebook group Nutrition Everything. All you need to do is join. All right, so well done. If you got to this part, you pretty much have reached the end of the webinar with me, and I'm glad you have stuck in. So good job. So if you've gotten this far, you obviously care about, you know, your nutrition, doing amazing things for your health, doing amazing things for everybody else's health. So I am excited. Good job for you. Thank you everyone who is watching. Thank you for, if you're going to share this is these tips with people. Thank you for spreading the love. I love it when people, you know, obviously, you know, take what they learn and they either use it to incorporate and make their family's health better, even if it's their immediate or their extended health. It's really awesome. You guys feel free to you know, access any questions and comments. The Nutrition Everything Facebook group is a really good way to, you know, access questions and get questions answered. We are on that like, I don't know, I know it's plant-based, so we're on that like green on spinach. All right, so we will answer your questions, so join that. And don't forget to, you know, if you are watching this, what would be really helpful if you go to our YouTube channel and subscribe, because we get to share a lot of videos, and then you can see all our new videos that pop up when we do that. So YouTube, Ocean Rock Wellness, subscribe as well. One last thing to tell you about, which is super awesome. If you have a young one, you know, who is school age, or it could be a preschooler. We can start really early. We are hosting a healthy lunchbox workshop. This is part of our student wellness workshop community give back. So this is something that we, coordinate and plan. We have amazing sponsors this year, BF&M. So happy to have them to help us to put this on. But next Saturday, November 9th at 2 o'clock, we will be at Harrington Song Primary School. We don't have, this is an event to register for. So where you would go to register for this, and also to see other things that is coming up for Ocean Rock Wellness, is www.orwevents.com. So www.orwevents.com. Go on and register for that if you're really interested. So I'll tell you, we'll go more specifically into how to create a really good lunch box. So we'll cover a little bit about pick eating. If you are gonna pick, we'll share some recipes. So if you're a baker and things like that, you don't mind, you're not scared of getting dirty in the kitchen, we'll have some things for you for that. We'll also, hey, if the kitchen scares you and you don't want to prepare stuff, we are also planning to have some ideas of foods that you can get that are packaged that are still whole food, right? So they're natural, don't have refined ingredients, no preservatives and things like that. So we'll kind of show some of those things to you, kind of understand, like, when you are creating your lunchbox, how to include the food groups into the lunchbox so your kid is happy, healthy, and all that amazing stuff. So that's November 9th. 2 p.m. You do have to register because we only got space for 50. We only got space for 50, and I want to say, I think I heard that we have 20 spots left as of today. So register orwevents.com. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed, and if you have questions, feel free to shoot them in. I'm going to actually stop the recording, but I will still answer any questions that you have if you've typed anything in to me today. Love you. Bye.